Hello everybody and welcome to another episode. In today's episode I will show you how to replace and remove your front shock absorber on a Volkswagen Passat B6, doesn't matter which year it is, and how to do it at home and with normal tools. Today I will show you how to remove the front shock absorber onto the driver's side on this Volkswagen Passat B6. And to begin, all you have to do is to remove the cover which is installed here above the windscreen wipers. And to remove this cover, you will have first to remove the wipers. To remove the wipers, you will also have to use a special tool which will help you to remove the wipers without breaking the glass or without breaking anything else. This cover is mounted in by a few clips. I think there is 4 clips and also a rubber shield which goes onto the top. This is the wipers press. You'll have to use a tool like this, and this one will help you to remove the wipers very easy and without breaking anything else. It's exactly the same even onto the other side. All you have to do is to lift the cover up and you will have access to the bolts which are holding the front shock absorber onto its place. Okay, to begin with the shock absorber, what you have to do is to remove and release the sway bar link, and after that you'll have to put away these wires, or you can also use a 10mm socket to remove the bracket which is holding the wires completely, and it's very easy doing like this. But what I recommend to do first is to remove the cables from the ABS sensor and from the brake pads wear sensor. After that you'll have to remove this nut which is holding the axle mounted onto the subframe, and then you will also have to remove this bolt which is holding the shock absorber mounted onto the car. You'll have to use an 18mm socket and a special key, I don't remember the name, and only after that you will have to go under the brake disc and remove those 3 nuts. From here it's very simple, just follow what I'm doing. Moving forward, to remove the nut from the axle, you will have to use a 24mm socket. You will have to use one which is looking like this. I think this one it's a socket with 12 corners, something like that. I'm not sure how this one is called, but in some of the cases the bolt from the axle is very stuck and you'll have to use a very strong impact gun, or you will have to use a breaker bar. In my case, my impact gun is not strong enough to remove the bolt, so I will use a breaker bar. And to stop the disc from not spinning around when you're trying to remove the nut, I recommend to take a flat screwdriver and put it inside like this, and after that you will have to hammer in the same time as you climb onto the breaker bar until the bolt is coming loose. Here under the brake disc, in order to remove and release the lower control arm, you will have to use a 16mm socket to remove the 3 bolts which are holding in mounted onto the car. Okay, so I almost removed everything that I need. I only have to remove this bolt from the shock absorber, and after that I will have to remove the 3 bolts from the top. As you all can see, I already removed all the bolts. Everything is ready to go, and from here just follow me. One good tip I want to give you, it's if you want to push the axle outside of the bearing, you'll have to put back the bolt and screw it just a little, and after that you'll have to hammer it with a hammer, and in this way the axle will come out from the bearing very easy and you don't have to put a lot of force to it. Here, with the bolts from the top, I'm going to remove 2 of them, and I will let the third one and the last one after I remove every bolt from underneath, because if you remove all of the bolts, the subframe will not hold anymore the shock absorber, and the shock absorber will go down when trying to hammer it and remove it from the frame. So just remove everything from underneath, and if the shock absorber is not holding in anything else, then you will have to remove the top bolt and remove the shock absorber from the subframe and from the car. After you're done with removing the bolt from the shock absorber, the only thing that you have to do is to take a metal bar or a chisel, and in some cases there is a special tool which you can use in order to pry open the bracket which is holding the shock absorber, because you will have to open it a little, and only after that the shock absorber will be released. If you don't do this, you won't be able to remove the shock absorber from the bearing and from the mounting support. In my case, I'm going to use a metal bar or a chisel, but be very careful, because in some cases, if you don't take into the consideration the corners of the metal bar, it can go through the shock absorber, and if you hammer it, you will destroy the shock absorber and there is no more usable, and you will have to replace it. So be very careful when you're doing this. One more tip I want to give you all, it's when you're trying to remove the lower arm, if it's not coming out. In my case, it didn't came out very easy, so I have to use a long breaker bar. I had to use this breaker bar and put it over the lower arm, and I had to climb over it, and after I hammered it a little with my hammer, finally it came out. It's a little difficult when it's only one person which is doing this. I had no help, but if I can do it, so do you. So from here, let's remove the shock absorber. Okay everybody, so with the shock absorber out, this is my old shock absorber, I'm going to replace even the flanges from the top. I will install new flanges. I choose to go with the Lamforder. They are very qualitative flanges and they are perfectly for a Passat B6. This is my new shock absorber. I choose to go with Magnum. They are very good even at the price and even at the quality. So from here, in order to push and compress the spring, I'm going to use these little springs, these little metal brackets. I bought them with about 30 bucks, but if you have the money to buy this press, it's even better. But I'm not going to use this press because it's taking me a lot of while, because the press is very big and I only have to remove the front shock absorber, so I don't have to take into the consideration installing the big press, because the job can be done even with this small press very good. Maybe it's not so practical, but it can be done very easy. Just take your time and you'll be able to do it. It's even easier if you have an impact gun. So I removed the spring, and before installing the new shock absorber and the flanges, I always like to disassemble the flanges and put more grease onto the bearings, because if you put more grease onto the bearings, the flanges will last longer. But it's up to you if you want to put it or not. You can leave them like this and how they came from the factory. Another tip I want to give you guys, it's always when you're installing new shock absorber, make sure you push the piston a few times, 3, 4, 5 times, until the piston builds up some pressure, and only after that it can be installed onto the car. Okay, so from here everything is the same as for this installation. Just follow what I'm doing. Okay everybody, as you can see, my new shock absorber is ready to be installed onto the car. Always double check the spring and the bolts, make sure that everything is fitted properly, make sure that you have nothing loose, and I always recommend you to put some copper grease onto the bolt, because it helps with preventing the corrosion, and after that you can install it onto the car. From here it's the same as for the installation. I'm not going to film the entire process, I'm going to show you a little steps, and after that you're done. Before installing the new shock absorber, I recommend you to take some Vaseline or some sort of lubricant and put it onto the shock absorber and the bracket, because in this way it will install a little bit easier. In my case, I had a little difficult with pushing it all the way through the bracket. It's very difficult if it's only one person, but it can be done. I did it off the video. I didn't have enough time to film how long it took for me, but it can be done if you take your time. Okay everybody, this is how it's looking with almost everything tightened up and ready to go. I installed everything, I just have to tighten everything back together. This is how the shock absorber is looking. This is how far the shock absorber should go through the bracket. and from here just put all the bolts back together. I put the bolt from the axle, I put the bolt from the wires and from the little bracket. I have to put the swivel link, and also I have to put the bolts from the lower arm. And this is all you have to do. Tie everything back together and you're good to go. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video and found it informative, please leave a like and a comment down below. See you next time.